Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today has been on here a few times before. You probably know him best from his time with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Whitesnake, Cher, Revolution Saints, and many, many others. But he's here today because his solo project, Joel Hoekstra's 13, has a new record coming out on February 27th called From the Fade. Please welcome Joel Hoekstra. Welcome back, Joel.
Hey, thank you so much. Nice guitar collection back there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Got to, do something to pass the time in the snow here.
Absolutely, brother. I
Yeah.
can relate.
Yeah. Now, as always with this project, you got some amazing musicians working with you. Who's in your band and From the Fade?
The lineup has remained consistent over the course of the four records, Dying to Live, Running Games, Crash of Life, and now From the Fade, in having Vinny Appice on drums, Tony Franklin on bass, Derek Sherinian on keyboards, and very surprisingly, Jeff Scott Soto on backing vocals. So he's a friend of mine and does them more or less as a favor to me, which totally grateful because he definitely ups the quality of the record significantly by doing them. And the only thing that has seen a change is essentially the lead vocals going from Russell Allen to Girish Pradhan on the recent two, on
Yeah.
Crash of Life and From the Fade. So Girish is a phenom from India who found some instant notoriety this year being on America's Got Talent with his band Girish and the Chronicles. He's quite a singer, amazing talent, so glad to have him.
And as you mentioned, this is the second record you've done with Garish. Was it a little more comfortable this time now that you know what he can do and how he handles the melodies and the lyrics you write?
It was different in that when I wrote Crash of Life, I wrote it not knowing if it was going to be Russell or Girish
Mhm.
singing. So a lot of Girish's higher register, his screams and things like that were kind of left out. Now
Mhm.
this record, I decided let's go with it. Let's write some more of that into the album. So between that being on there and then I'd say my writing of the riffs kind of lined up with me filling in with Accept. There's a little bit more of a heavy metal edge to this record. It's still definitely melodic hard rock. It's not really heavy metal defined as such, but there's definitely a little bit more of a heavy metal sound to the record overall due to those two things, I think.
Yeah, and that was something I was going to bring up because again, that melodic rock naturally is there. That's your core with this band, but it does feel a little heavier. And for me as a listener, I think a lot of that, as you said, was using Garish's voice and knowing that you could write a little heavier because he could sing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, two different instruments writing for Russell's voice,
Mhm.
which a huge fan of Russell's voice. Still, any change in that department was just strictly based on schedule and
Yeah.
how long it takes him to get a record done, etc. And Girish being available and hungry to do them. So, yeah, I mean, I really they're both great singers and. I'm blessed to have any of these people working with me, all the way across the board, really. So I'm definitely very happy with the lineup, and I've tried to have consistency be there so the project has a sound. If you want to call it a band, we can. I think that basically it's a band in that I fashion the songs, all the writing. I write those that don't know the guitar riffs and the lyrics and the melodies and everything, and then obviously oversee the artwork and the mix. So a lot goes into these for me. I would say that it's not a band and that nobody else is doing that. So like it's not really fair to those guys to call it a band because all those guys would probably like to have input on the writing. That being said, that my production style is very loose. Like I'll if I once I turn these over to them, I pretty much just let them have free reign and play what they want to play. If you've got the right players with you, then you don't have to really have much back and forth.
Yeah. And I think the consistency in having those amazing players behind you really carries through with this project. And you have a style, you have a sound, but you're never a slave to that. And That's why I think when you hear this record or anything from 13, it doesn't sound anything like TSO or Whitesnake or anything else you do. Do you write differently knowing that, okay, this is going to be a 13 record? I'm going to have these guys playing it, so I'm going to take it in this direction. Do you write differently depending on the project?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think in the back of your mind is always going to be personnel,
Mhm.
who's on it. So Vinny, obviously being a real straight ahead 4/4 classic rock player, this isn't going to be like the let's do a bunch of proggy stuff in odd meter. Let's go for the progressive thing. And yeah, I mean, that right there is a big part of what helps kind of keep the core sound together. That being said, I mean, if you really look at like the mellowest or lightest or poppiest tracks on these records all the way to the heaviest, there's quite a scope there
Yeah.
over the course of the four albums. So um, I think that it's important for me to maintain consistency with the lineup, that and keeping the general sonics of each record kind of
Mhm.
consistent. So um, I try not to do a lot of let me try this amp, let me try this different guitar. It's like let's keep this like you were recording in the studio and there only was like the amp that you were using, and so try and keep it so that the album has a sound that'll tie the material together. Now that being said, this album is a little bit more, I would say, um, if I went there through them one by one, probably a more accurate way to do this. Dying to Live was all over the place because I had a
Mhm.
lot of pre-existing material. It was my first one, and I like all over the place myself. I'm cool with that. That's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to knock the record. Like I like records like that where you listen and there's a whole lot of different styles. Running Games was a little bit more focused. The songs had a little bit more consistency to them. Crash of Life, I think, kind of drifted again a little bit. It had a little bit of like you'd hear an AC/DC influence poke through or like a Zeppelin influence poke through, stuff that wasn't necessarily happening on the other
Mhm.
records. Um, a little bit of a bluesier thing on a couple of the songs, I guess, if you will. And then this one kind of returns to that, I guess, more consistent sound like Running Games had, but it's a different sound than Running Games. I think it's more heavy edged. Um, and that being said, like to round it off at the end, it was like, okay, but to make this sound like it belongs in this catalog, there's got to be some more melodic tracks like Lifeline or
Mhm.
Will You Remember Me? Songs that aren't quite so heavy edge, quite the ride, that are a little bit more like melodic.
Mhm.
And people use the term commercial. I don't even know what that means anymore. None of us are going for commercial success with this. I mean, I'm not even 1% making these albums for that. I basically make them as a creative endeavor, creative outlet, and something to reflect upon my body of work when all is said and done. That you made your own music and were an artist along the line,
Mhm.
not just like, oh, he was a sideman who had some cool gigs.
Yeah.
Um, so they those two roads have kind of moved parallel to each other throughout my life, my musical career, if you will. I sort of started getting the ball rolling more by making my own music. I mean, I
Mhm.
kind of had that was like the initial thing, making solo albums. So that was just Joel Hoekstra back then, and that's stuff that's not even on a label, just self-released. That was instrumental. Kind of sounded like you'd expect a guitar player solo albums to sound. A lot about the guitars.
Yeah.
And when it came time for these, that was more or less when the other road I was becoming more well known. So you get in Night Ranger and Rock of Ages and Trans Siberian Orchestra and Whitesnake that kind of happened in that order for me. A lot of the fans are going back and going to the old material, and this was something that was suggested a lot to me by fans going like, man, we went back and listened to your solo albums, like what the hell is that stuff, like has nothing to do with what you're
Yeah.
doing now. And so I thought, okay, time to do this, because I always did. I was always in the plans for sure. Like when I was making the more fusiony instrumental albums or the fingerstyle
Mhm.
acoustic albums, I was like, someday gonna make some rock records too. And the timing was right. So I started making the Joel Hoekstra's 13.
Yeah.
I gave it a different moniker, a different name, slight tweak. I look at it like that's like, a project name.
Yeah.
Um, So, like I said, band, yeah, I mean, I try to keep the players consistent. So
Mm.
there is a bit of a band thing to it.
Mm. Well, what I love about the record is kind of what you just said, and I mean this whole project, not just this record, is it really gives people a chance to know you beyond just your playing. The 13 records allow us to kind of see you in terms of writing and arranging and producing, and especially lyrics. So you mentioned the track Quite the Ride. That's probably my favorite song on the record, the last track. Talk a little bit about that track and just your approach to lyric writing in general, which is something you really don't get to do in those other projects.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really my only outlet for it. Most of the writing that I'll do with the other projects will be varying degrees of input, but a lot of times just guitar riffs, like
Yeah.
help me out with guitar ideas. So, the vocal melodies are a big thing for me, and then lyrically speaking, it's I'll usually get on a roll once I find a theme.
Mhm.
If I find a theme for an album, then that kind of find my momentum. Um, that being said, like some of it can veer into fantasy into things. A lot of times things get triggered by something that phonetically will sound good. Like if you're building chorus out, which I'll definitely do with lyrics. If you don't have a theme, it's really hard to start elaborating on the theme in the verse for
Yeah.
me. So I usually start with the writing lyrically, at least with a chorus. Even riff wise, a lot of times I'll start with that and go like, this will be the chorus. Now let me think out from there. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'll find a theme that whether it's something phonetically or rhythmically that fits with it, and then if I'll kind of combine that, how would that fit into the theme that I'm developing for the album? That helps me kind of have a sound to each one, make each one a little bit of a timestamp. So there's definitely personalized experiences. I do enjoy people hearing their own meaning and
Mhm.
stuff too. So it's not always literal. And then there's some stuff that's like straight up fantasy because like you could take Misunderstood is my favorite one to laugh about on this record. I mean, we got a song about me murdering someone and like, so I mean, it's like obviously, I'd be in jail or
Yeah.
I'd be a really, really twisted individual if I was
Yeah.
doing that. So, that's obviously fantasy and I look at it like it's fun actually. When
Yeah.
you get to write a song like that, it's like it's a fun little venting outlet to do that if you're super pissed off. And write a song like that, it's kind of like therapy in a way.
Exactly. Now, I mean, kind of looking through some of the other stuff you've done in your career, you spent a lot of time playing with Cher. And I was there in Cleveland when, her Rock Hall induction in 2024.
Oh, right
And
on.
yeah, although naturally you weren't inducted, she was, but what was it like for you to be part of that? To be on stage. So I've talked to others who have both played like you did and been inducted, and most of them were like, well, we always thought it was just going to be another gig until we stepped on stage and then it hits you. What was it like for you to play that gig?
No, that one was special on a couple different levels. I mean, I was basically asked to fill in for her guitar player in 2017, and then that ended up being like a 3 year period where I was
Mm.
doing it, but I was having to sub out a lot to do Whitesnake and to
Mm.
do Trans Siberian Orchestra. And that's always such a difficult thing to do when you're hired on something because you're really grateful to be there, but then you have to prioritize, and then people always feel slighted, like you're not, oh, we're not important to you, and it's like never the case. You're always glad to have all of it, but um, there was more or less, I guess, a parting of ways there, like at the start of 2020, where I wasn't going to be the guitar player anymore. So, kind of hadn't heard from anybody there, and just kind of felt like, oh man, like sent off and like you're dead to us kind of feeling. And then, so getting the call itself to go do that meant a lot to me because that was something I wanted to do was go back in and just reconnect with them and let them know like that I was really grateful for the time period there. So getting to go in and do Rock Hall was the first opportunity to see her again and had a really nice conversation with her. Just very amicable in that regard, like, letting her know how grateful I was for the time there. And so that almost was more important than like the whole like Rock Hall thing. But seeing as that was a historic performance for her, being inducted, I'll tell you something else that's really fun when you play those. You look out and you've got an audience out there that's way more famous than you. You know, it's like you're looking out there and it's like, oh, there's Julia Roberts and there's Sammy Hagar, and I'm like looking on the oh, there's Keith Urban right there. You know, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
like, holy crap! Like, there's a lot of really, really famous people, and almost like entirely actually, as you're looking out, it's
yeah.
like you're just literally looking at a room of all really, really famous people
Well,
watching you
except
play,
for me, I was way in the back. Yeah.
and it's that was cool, man. You know, like Sammy Hagar and I have met a couple of times, but we're not friendly or friend. We don't have a friendship. We're friendly, obviously, when we speak in person. But he was pointing at me, going like, "Hey, man!" Like when I was up there, he was dead center front row. That's how he sticks out to me because I was like, and I couldn't help but point back at him, like, "Yeah, man!" You know, like there's Sammy Hagar and he recognizes me. Damn, that's awesome. You know, so that was really fun for me. So that it was a cool gig in a lot of ways for me. But I would say the most important was being welcomed back into the Cher camp for a minute to be asked back in. That meant the most to me.
Mhm. You've done a ton of different bands, but a few years back, you had a record with a band called Iconic with Michael
Mhm.
Sweet and Nathan James and a bunch of others. It was such a great record. Will there be a second one there, or was that just a one time?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm done recording. That's a whole lot of what I've been doing and am kind of continuing to do right now while touring is kind of slow with Whitesnake being gone. I tracked Revolution Saints,
Mhm.
and we just need to get together to shoot the videos, etc., and find a proper release schedule with the label. But that's with Dean Castronovo from Journey, for those that don't know. And then Iconic that you mentioned, and it's Tommy Aldridge on drums, and Michael Sweet and I are sharing the guitar duties on this one, a little bit more equally, more of like a 50-50 kind of thing. And Nathan James, a singer from the UK, was unbelievable, great singer, sings on it, and Marco Mendoza, obviously killer bass player. So that people can expect that later this year. We've got the video dates lined up for that. It's so hard with everybody's schedules to find days where everybody can get together and even just shoot forget that when people are like, are you guys going to tour for 3 months? It's like, it's so hard to get everybody together even for a few days to shoot the videos. But people can look forward to those later this year. So yeah, to
Mhm.
answer your question, there will be another Iconic record.
And I also had the pleasure end of summer to catch you here in Connecticut with Brandon Gibbs for your duo show,
Yeah.
which is always a great night. It's a ton of fun. You guys just look like you enjoy it. Will you be doing some more shows with Brandon? Will you guys ever record anything, or is it just go out and play?
We're gonna definitely do some shows this year. We've got a handful of them on the books, and we'll definitely be on the Monsters of Rock cruise together and the Mountain Festival later in the year, with like a smattering of other gigs right now. He's got a situation right now with Rocket
Yeah.
Mafia, Ricky Rocket's band, where his schedule is uncertain. So if let's say we book a date and then Rocket Mafia books a date, I'm not going to try and hold him to ours and say, "Hey man, you better
Yeah.
be there." I mean, I have to but Brandon is a great to work with. Like just a great guy. We what you see on stage is how we are. Like we travel with no crew, no band, and we just genuinely are friends and have a good time. Great dude. So they're just fun, unique shows. Now, as far as whether we record something, we've had a couple times where we got like pseudo serious about like, let's get a single out and write something together for crap's sakes. We've been doing this for a long time. Um, I mean, what's funny about that is that started as like we met on the cruise, Monsters of Rock cruise. And he said, I do solo acoustic shows, and sometimes I bring another guitar player. Would you ever be up for doing that? And I said, absolutely, man. Let's do it. Fill the gaps. Like, if I'll send you my schedule when Whitesnake's not out or whatever. Let's do it. So we started out just doing like a couple of them a year, and it was strictly for fun. Go play a small place with them, and it was like that was a blast. I had a great time. He's a great guy, and that's a huge part of it. You go hang out with him, and I have a lot of fun hanging out with him.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like as things were falling off for me, where I like, hey, there's a bigger window here. We started booking more, and like suddenly we toured the UK a couple times. We toured Europe. I mean, it's like stuff that he and I never saw coming. No way. I mean, we were just like, let's go do this. It'll be fun. And so we ended up going out and doing some bigger things. Now, with him being with Rocket Mafia, it sort of puts it a little bit more on the back burner. Like we can
Yeah.
do some, but as I said, I have to give him the liberty that he gave me with Whitesnake and things like that, where it's like, I mean, he wasn't going to say, "Stay home from Whitesnake, man. Aren't you loyal to me to go play this show at, this smaller place or whatever?" And but we have a great time. I really have a great time doing those. I mean, I don't want to speak for Brandon. I think he does too. But I have a great time playing those shows. That's where you get the people that, let's say you're playing for the 10,000 people at a TSO show. There's going to be a certain number of those people that leave there actually knowing who the heck you were, not just going the guitar player with the long blonde hair, the tall guy, you know. And then there's the people that are going to know your name, and then there's the people that are going to look into what you're doing, and then there's the people that are going to say, "Let's go see him do this other stuff." So by the time you get that far in, you're really talking about the people that care and are actively following and pursuing what you're doing. And those shows give an opportunity for those people to come out and have an opportunity to like say hello and actually talk like human beings, as opposed to like a signing line
Yeah.
where they're kind of whisked through. You
Yeah.
sign something, thank you for coming, kind of thing. Like a little bit more of a casual hang.
Mm. Yeah, and they were really fun shows. I enjoy it a lot. Now, with Whitesnake ending, it does free you up a bit. So, any other touring plans in addition to what we may see with Brandon or TSO in the winter?
I mean, the other thing that's similar to the Brandon Gibbs scenario that I've kind of kept around through the heavier, successful touring eras was the Broadway's Rock of Ages
Yeah.
band. So basically, that I did the show itself on Broadway for 6 years with these guys, and then now what we do is we'll book shows and go out and play the full length versions of those. And they're great fun. It's like old school, man. You know, I've got the Marshall half stack behind me or stack, and no in ears, listening through wedges, and just kind of playing all those songs, which I like. Every one of those songs is a hit song from that show. So going through and playing those with the people that I spent a long time with in that band. So that's a great outlet for me live that I have fun doing too. Very similar in that regard to like Brandon, playing with Brandon. And outside of that, I mean, I've got a smattering of like corporates and rando things, kind of like, all-star pickup
Yeah.
dates and stuff like that happening right now, and then Trans-Siberian Orchestra later in the year. So it's more open than it's been, but it's funny how life seems to like just present stuff. It's like I got back from TSO, and the stuff that I had earlier in the year that was scheduled for me to do ended up kind of getting bumped back and moved back. And I've been so slammed with recording and doing sessions, and so
Mhm.
that seems to be what's picking up. And so I just kind of ride the wave where it goes,
Yeah.
and then I'm hopefully there will be another window where the touring thing is really busy. I mean, it's tricky joining a band full time when you have Trans-Siberian Orchestra,
Mm.
because you need to say to them, "Look, come November and December, I belong to them."
Yeah.
Uh, and that's something now, especially with being with TSO for 16
Yeah.
years, that's like not even in question. Like, they're like, I have a lot of loyalty to them. So it's tricky to find the right situation. It worked out great with Accept 2 years
Yeah.
ago because they just needed somebody to fill in. And
Mm.
that's like perfect because it's like they're not worried about your long term schedule and whether or not you can commit to 100% of the shows and what would we do if you can't make it. And I had a great time with those guys touring South America and doing the European festivals. And that's kind of the situation that I'd
Mhm.
really be looking at more. I think what I would be into doing if somebody needed like a guitar player to fill in for a period of
Right.
time in the year. That's probably a better fit with my current I guess pro life. Like I've got a lot of things happening in terms of recording and doing sessions, writing for people, producing. I teach virtually. I mean, I'm like constantly going. So there's no shortage of things to do. It
Mm.
just is kind of when people ask that question, I'm like, well, not much, because people are kind of eager to see you live.
Right.
And it's like, well, I can tell you this right now, but I understand everybody would love to have you out on tour like the bulk of the year, but for me, the dream is always to make a living playing guitar more than it was to be a
It's all
rock
that
star
matters.
or
Yeah.
anything like that. So as long as I can keep doing that, I'm cool with it all. I do miss um, like during the year, there are periods where it's like, oh, I'd really like to be out doing bigger shows right now or something like that. But um, it's also like not that big a deal to me in a lot of ways. You know,
Mm.
I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but it's like as long as I'm doing something that I feel like I'm
Yeah,
bettering myself and playing guitar, I'm cool.
that's all it takes. We've been spending some time here with Joel Hoekstra. The project is called Joel Hoekstra's 13. The record is From the Fade. It's out everywhere on February 27th. It's another great record. And Joel, thanks as always for taking the time to do this. Always love having you on. And hopefully we'll catch you soon with Brandon again.
Yeah, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you taking the time out and helping me get the word out about the record, dude.
Anytime, my friend. Thanks a lot.
All right, have a good one.
You
Thank
too.
you.